Let me just make that announcement one more time. I'm sorry, Courtney, give me a second. It is Wednesday, February 9, 2022. Welcome to the Studio City Neighborhood Council Land Use Meeting. Roll call has been called. Everyone is present. We have a quorum, and we welcome Courtney Schoenwald from Planning to just make a little presentation about the survey and your participation, and also take some questions. Hi, Courtney.
Do you need to read the Zoom that we are conducting on Zoom?
Sure, I'll go ahead and do that.
Disclaimer.
1 second, Courtney, thank you. In accordance with Government Code Section 54953, subsections E1 and E3, and in light of the state of emergency proclaimed by the governor on March 4, 2020, relating to COVID-19 and ongoing concerns that meeting in person would present imminent risks to the health and safety of attendees, and or that the state of emergency continues to directly impact the ability of members to meet safely in person. The Land Use Committee of the Studio City Neighborhood Council meeting on February 9, 2022 will be conducted via telephone and or video conferencing. All right, so thank you, having gotten that out of the way. So turning it back over to Courtney. Hi.
Hello, third time's a charm, right?
Right? You just want to hear me calling your name.
Well, hi, everyone from Studio City. I'm Courtney Schoenwald. I'm here with the LA City Planning Department. I think most of you are aware we're in the process of amending the Ventura specific plan. And in October and November of last year, we had 3 information and listening sessions for a work program, which focuses on the update to the project impact assessment fees that are collected currently in the corridor. As a follow-up, we've created a survey of the corridor that does 2 things. The first is it helps vet our consultant's preliminary findings for a sidewalk study. The corridor is 17 miles long, and while they've done a pretty thorough job of identifying issues, we feel like no one is more attuned to sidewalk issues than those who use it in their community. So we hope you're able to help us confirm the maps. And secondly, we would like the survey to help us provide insight into the priorities of your community so that we can create a list of projects that the community would like to see happen along the boulevard. So part of the motion was adopted because the current plan limits or doesn't facilitate expenditures for things the community would like to see. So the second part of our survey is to help us understand what the community would like to see funds go towards in the right of way. What goals would the community like to see with these improvements, such as safer streets, for pedestrians, more greening or beautification? If you would take the time to look at the surveys and provide us with your comments, as well as share them with your community, especially, I will say, kudos to you so far, Studio City. You guys have the highest response rate of any community on the corridor, so good job. Where we are really lacking feedback from right now is the business community. We hear a lot from residents. We're not hearing a lot from businesses or property owners. So if you would please help spread the word among those particular communities, that would be great. The surveys are online. I think the link to the survey is in the agenda. So it's going to be open until probably the end of February. So if you have until then to help get us your comments, that would be fantastic. So that's my announcement, and then I will take any questions.
Perfect. Do we have any questions for Courtney? Anyone?
I do.
Yes, Adele.
Yeah. You said, hi, Courtney.
Hi.
You said that you were updating the specific plan. Mm-hmm. What does that include?
So the motion originally had 3 different parts to it. Streamlining signs and other simple clearances. Right now, it's a very burdensome process for businesses to put up a sign. They have to file a case. Secondly, we were going to be updating the zoning code to the new zoning code standard, but that has now moved over to the community plan update. So we're not doing that. But the third part is this fee portion, and that is to amend how the fees are collected and spent. Because right now the plan is currently collecting fees to basically widen intersections. And that is not what we're hearing communities want. We're hearing that they want things like landscape medians or better sidewalks, more trees, things that, signs that are pertinent to each community. So that's what what we're here for today, is that third part of it. So we're carrying forward the sign portion of it, and we're carrying forward the fee portion of it. We're here today to talk about the fee and the improvements to the right of way that relate to that fee.
And just a follow-up question, you collect fees from whom? Businesses?
Development projects.
Mm-hmm.
So when projects are developed, then fees are collected, and DOT is currently collecting those as it stands today.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Richard Niederberg?
Yeah, my question is it going to actually be community by community? We now have the 30 States of Local Lake specific plan. I remember it was put into place because I worked on the interim plan. I'm wondering, is every community allowed to make their own rules with the permission of the city? Or is it all going to be one size fits all?
We haven't worked out that portion of the fee. I will tell you as it stands, I can answer that in response to the fee, because the sign regulations are going to be the same across the corridor. So that won't be community by community. That will be the same across the corridor. The fee today is collected based off of your project type and where you're located. In terms of what the fee will look like moving forward, I don't know if it's going to be different based off of geography and project type. If it's just going to be geography, it'll just be project type. I can't answer that at this point.
Because I thought the interim control ordinance we all worked on worked very well, and then it was a lot of it was modified into the current ordinance. I'm a little worried about us having one size fits all. Should be every community should be able to have their own rules within the codes. Is that
Yeah,
possible?
but the rules that we're talking about here are sign regulations. That will be the same. And then the other rule we're talking about are fees that we collect. And as I said, I don't know if the fees that we collect will be by geography and project type the way it is today. I suspect that's going to be the most logical way to do it, but those are decisions that have yet to be made.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Melanie Winters, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, Courtney. It's been a while since I filled out the survey. I filled it out when it was first released. So I'm trying to recall the questions that would relate to the fee collection. Mostly I recall the questions being specific to sidewalk issues and, identify for us where there are obstructions or problems or we need improvements that we may have missed. Can you remind me of the questions that would have helped you shape what the fees might go to?
Yeah, so the first half of the survey is what I talked about. It's looking at the preliminary findings from a sidewalk report that our consultant has done to help us confirm what's there. The second part is what do you like to see on the boulevard? Did you want to see art? Did you want to see different signalizations? Did you want to see more transit? There was a second part of the survey that was more of a visioning exercise. That's the portion that relates to the fee.
Yes, thank you. Now I recall. So because I wasn't connecting, the fees usually go to street widening piece.
Right. So
To that.
we're looking at other things than just street, but currently that's what I said. Currently the fees go to street widening, and that's not what we're hearing the community wants. That's why this motion was put in place. So we're looking at what other things would a community want, and that's what that was trying to get to. Are you
picking up largely on aesthetic improvements and traffic calming and better transit? What is the sort of general so far consensus on what you're seeing from the survey?
You know what, we actually haven't been analyzing the input so far because we're waiting for everyone to get their comments in, and we don't want to go through that exercise more than once. So I'm sorry, I don't have an answer.
Okay, that's all right. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Melanie. Barry Johnson.
Thank you. Hi, Courtney. And I was just going to mention, I know Courtney and Lisa already know this, but an example of those fees being spent in Studio City, Studio City got over $1 million to complete almost all of our missing sidewalks. This is something Lisa Sarkin started and it took like 8 to 10 years to finally get the sidewalks done. But like by the curve area, the sidewalks are pretty much in there. We got a lot of sidewalk in across from Jalapeno Pete's, not quite all, but mostly. And I don't know, it's probably like a quarter of a mile of sidewalks. Also, the cliff across from Bed Bath & Beyond never had a sidewalk. It was just dirt. It's got a retaining wall and sidewalk now. So those fees collected went towards this huge sidewalk project, which took 8 to 10 years to get funded and done. So that just wanted to give everyone an example of where that money goes towards. And this wasn't street widening.
That
Thanks.
was much well spent. Thanks, Barry. Brandon Marino, go ahead and unmute.
Good evening. Courtney, how are you? Based on what I heard, pardon me if I'm a noob about this, but this isn't actually my my field of expertise. You stated that the fees are collected from developments, but one would logically assume that the larger the development, the greater the fees. The specific plan is meant to maintain the community, the identity of the community in terms of building height, size of the project. But if the fees are dependent on the size of the project, and the greater the project, the greater the fees, isn't that contradictory to the existence of the specific plan at all?
I don't know that it's contradictory. I will tell you that the council motion that the council office has put forward was based on to redirect us to collect fees. There is a law in the state of California called the Mitigation Fee Act. That Mitigation Fee Act collects fees off of new developments. And so we're following state law by following the city motion and state law. That's the way that it's going. It was never meant to be a contradiction. It's meant to follow the regulations that are in place. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. Did you have more to add to that, Brandon?
No, I was just thinking of a couple of like projects like the proposed Sportsman's Lodge monolith, and the one we were talking about earlier, Colfax and Ventura, the elder care, just how they would actually get past planning and getting actually to the neighborhood council vote when they are in direct violation of the specific project. They never should have gotten to first base, so to speak. But instead, they propose this to us, and it does this have something to do with the fees? Like I said, I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but the larger the project, the more grandiose the project, the greater the fees. So that's where I was. Again, I don't know exactly the nuts and bolts of how everything works here. I'm just trying to gain a grasp of how one is related to the other.
Right. Courtney, did you want to answer that?
I mean, as I said, the particulars about how the fee will be collected have yet to be determined. There might be certain projects that might be exempt from collecting fees at all. If it's 100% affordable housing, I think the state actually precludes fees from being collected for that. So I don't know. I don't know the details of what the fees will be. I can't, but generally speaking, the larger the impact the project has on the environment is how the fees would normally be collected. That's the purpose of the Fee Mitigation Act. The Fee Mitigation Act is to collect fees that would mitigate impacts for these projects that go in. And part of that is what we're looking at here in terms of, if there's redevelopment that happens, do we want things to look better at the end of the day? I think the answer to that would be yes. I don't know how to answer that other than to say that.
Yeah, this has been in place for a very long time, and we obviously do contain these projects within certain ordinances, right? So, developers have every right to file their application, and under certain laws, be it affordable housing units that the city grants developers to certain projects. So there are exceptions that are made along the way. So
And I can't speak to those particular projects that were mentioned. I don't know the history of what
Right.
entitlements they sought, so I'm sorry, I don't know.
Right. Barry Johnson?
I was just going to say for Brandon, as a rule, developers always ask for greater heights than are allowed, and they use that to negotiate down. If like for sportsmen's, 30 feet's allowed with a density bonus, maybe 45, they're asking for double that. I have never seen the Planning Commission approve something double in height, but the fact that they asked for the double in height at 90 feet is really a negotiating tool down the line, so they can maybe get 60 instead of 45. If they just ask for 45, they're not going to get 60. So we see this time and time again. So it's nothing new. Thanks.
Thank you, Barry. Richard?
Is it affected by the 1% for the arts? Is that connected to this at all? About the amount of fees collected or?
No, any citywide fee is separate from this. Ventura collects its own special Ventura fees, and that's what we're discussing here today.
Okay, so you still have 1% for the arts then?
I believe, I don't know what the percentage is for the citywide arts fee for commercial and industrial buildings. Maybe that's it, but whatever the citywide fees are, they would remain in place. This is an additional, welcome to Ventura, you get to pay more money kind of a fee.
Right.
Courtney, do crosswalks fall into this category here?
They can. I mean, it would depend on what kind of a crosswalk you're talking about, right? Like if you're trying to repaint a crosswalk, that would be maintenance. That wouldn't be covered. If it's a new crosswalk, then that could be considered.
Okay.
Maintenance can't be considered. That's the one thing with the Fee Mitigation Act.
Right. No,
But-
I'm thinking new crosswalks to designate new
Or-
intersections.
And what we still have yet to find out is if we add different paving materials, is that new enough to
Right.
fix a crosswalk? We don't know yet.
Mhm. And what about
I think I see a
sign?
hand up.
Oh,
Sorry. Was it Lana?
oh yeah. Go
Oh,
ahead.
Hey, Courtney, just real quick,
Mhm.
when you mentioned maybe exemptions for developments that might have affordable housing,
Mhm.
how is it determined? Is it that it's all affordable housing, 100%, or a percentage? I'd like to know if, for example, these really large developments that may be coming into areas, is it required, they have to have some affordable units, but what percentage would make them exempt? I mean, does it have to be 100% to get
So I don't know,
exemption?
again, no stipulations have been sorted out with these fees, but usually affordable units, whatever that unit is, the affordable unit itself would not have to pay a fee. So if it's a development that has 100 units and 3 units are affordable, 97 units would be charged the fee, but 3 of the units would not.
Okay, and
Does that
would
make
come-
sense?
Yes, and that would come from the developer, or
Mhm.
however they wrap it up in a fee. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's why I said you're building on Ventura, welcome, you get to pay more money.
Right, so, but those 3 are just taken out of their equation when
Mhm.
their fees are.
Usually that's how it's done. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't speak for certain about how that would happen here, but
Okay.
yeah, that's usually
Good-
what would happen.
Good to know, thank you.
Anyone else before we say goodbye?
I wanted to follow up on your comment about crosswalks, Lisa. Is that something, I think I remember filling out the survey and thinking, is there a place for me to sort of identify places along the boulevard
Mhm.
where crosswalks would be helpful? For instance, between Whitsett and Coldwater, or between Coldwater and Kester. No, what's the one after? Is it Kester? Yeah. There are places where it would be helpful for people
Fulton.
if we were pedestrian oriented
Fulton.
to be able to cross without having to go back to the half mile to the next major boulevard. And as we're looking forward to more pedestrian oriented Studio City, are there places we can prompt you to say it would be super helpful based on our experience as pedestrians in this community to have additional pedestrian crossings provided. Is there some place for us to do that?
Yeah, so we actually had a comment section in the survey, but we have, let me get this, you don't have a chat.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me, our webpage that, Elisa, maybe you can share the Ventura webpage with them. On our contact page, which is planning.lacity.org/plans-specific-plan-contact. But Lisa will share that with you. That webpage, we actually have a place for you to submit a comment. So if there's anything you missed, you can either submit a comment or you can email us directly. We all, actually everyone on my team shares an email address that's on our contact page. It's planning.venturacoenga.spa@lacity.org. So you can email us, you can submit a comment. So if you missed it in the survey, if you already filled it out, if you can't go back and edit it, you can always submit a comment. And that's for anything.
And
if there's
you
a
can
comment
even
about anything.
get there. You can even get there via the link on Lisa's agenda for tonight.
Oh, right. Yes. Because that agenda has, so it's basically that whole link that's on the agenda. And then if you go to the contact tab, that's how you could submit a comment.
Anyone else? Courtney, thank you so much.
Okay. You're welcome.
All
All right. I'm going to go have dinner with my family now. So
Do it.
bye.
Yeah, thanks again for your time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Has everyone taken the survey? Okay, well, I think we should take the survey, take the time. We have until the end of the month. So as some of you know, I also am an appointee to the Ventura Corridor specific plan. So you can always send your comments, your list of concerns, or your thoughts and ideas to me as well, which I will be able to get it to planning when we meet the first Thursday of every month. So having said that, before we get back to that, I'm going to go over, since we're very loose with our agenda this month, I am going to go over some things, but before I do that, do we have any public comment? Barry Johnson.
Hi again. Yes, Lisa, I was just wondering if maybe during this segment or whenever you could tell us anything you know about the Arch and Ventura development. That
Well, I have my
this
list.
committee.
Right. So I have my list.
Yeah.
I was going to start that, but I thought I'd go to public comment first. So I'm going to give you an update on everything that's on the list that's in or near or getting ready for new development. So
Okay. And when you get there, I'm just curious to know, you got your committee and the board gave its blessing to something totally different, and now they've come up with something else. Is it going to be before the committee again?
It's a brand new application, and it's actually going to be refiled once again because. So I'll just go ahead. Do I have any other public comment? No. Okay. I'll respond to that. Unless anyone else has any other questions or comments. Okay. So 3 years ago, we're coming up on 3 years, I think, we approved a project on Arch Drive and Ventura Boulevard, where the elder care center was, the retirement home, by connected to behind Marshall's on the east end of Ventura Boulevard. So due to COVID and funding issues and so forth. So they've decided to scrap that application. We actually had approved it, so that is no longer valid. The developer has filed for a new application. I talked to them today and they informed me that first and foremost, the building has been demolished. It's been demoed down to the ground. It is fenced in and it does have 24/7 surveillance cameras all around, trying to keep it as safe as possible, the area. And the new development that's come up for them is that the building right next to it, the smaller apartment building that's right next to it, approached the developer wanting to have them buy them out. So this is brand new for them. They are, I think, in negotiation to buy the building right next to it. And so therefore what they will do is they will have to refile a new application and redo their plans all over again to incorporate the new building that they're buying right next door and make it even larger. So we'll just wait and see for what happens with that. I'll go down my list.
And just
Yeah.
curious before you go on,
Sure.
in their new application that's probably going nowhere, but I'm just curious, are they filing currently for a higher height and more units than before?
No higher than we had approved, but yes, more units.
All right, thank you.
From what I see, they've reconfigured. It's not 3 buildings anymore. It's not like separated 3 buildings. It's kind of a U shape with they moved the pool that used to look like in their plans that was in the rear by the river, closer to the river of their building. Now it's in the center courtyard. So I don't know how it's going to change again with the new building that they're buying next door. I'm sure it's going to be more units, even more.
And Lisa, does it still have a ground floor retail? as
No,
well?
that is gone. No more. retail.
Interesting.
Right.
Interesting.
Right, Jesse, you've been with this since day one, remember? It was.
Yeah, yeah. We
Uh-huh.
got them to add more bike spots, if I recall.
Right. So, so yeah, no retail, just an apartment building, more units, and I'm sure it's going to be even more now. But they're certain that they are going to be successful in buying this property right next door. All right, moving on. So,
I had a quick question.
yeah,
What was the height of the building? I don't think I was on the land use when that happened.
I don't remember, and it's, I don't remember.
They were asking for a variance, though. It was definitely above what's the limit.
Yeah. But they're on Arch Drive, so they don't fall under the specific plan. But we'll wait and see when the new application comes in as to how high they want to go and how many units they want to add and how many units for affordable housing they want to dedicate. All right, so I did touch base. I did send an email with every new project that is on our list. Actually, the Crescent Apartments, the one that we were just talking about on Arch, was one of the very few who did respond. Harvard Westlake did respond. And I will tell you exactly what they said. Ari Engelberg said, the only update I really have is that the environmental impact report is still in the city's hands and they are busy preparing it. I don't have a timeline yet for its release. Of course, we would welcome the opportunity to come before the Land Use once the DEIR is circulated and the members of the committee and stakeholders have had a chance to review it. Thanks and best regards. So that is for the Harvard Westlake River Park project. Any questions about that? Any questions, any thoughts? That's where we're at with Harvard Westlake. The market that we proved last year for the corner of Eureka Drive and Ventura Boulevard has not responded to my email to let me know of what their timeline for demolition and construction is. I'll wait for their response. Let's see. Sportsman's Residences, mixed use project. Ben Besley said, not much to report. Project application and CEQA still under review with the planning department. We're expecting comments in March. So that is Sportsman's. Barry Johnson, you have a question?
I was just going to say I was at one of the stores at Eureka and Ventura today, and there was a large like construction trash bin, and it looks as though they're taking out salvageable stuff from the building they're going to tear down. So maybe that's a sign that they're getting to the event. You know, they have to do demolition first. So maybe they're getting there anyway.
Yes, I think they're inching their way towards that. But I really want an update, and I hope Heather will respond in the next day or so. Anyone else with any questions before I move on? Okay. Sunswept, I did reach out to Jack and Pete. I have not heard anything back with an update. As soon as I know, I will let you know. So the elder care facility for the corner of Colfax and Ventura, they are ready to represent, and as soon as I have the time to have this conversation with them, I will either reach out to committee members and ask to come back together for a special meeting before March, or depending on what their timeline is, excuse me, and what planning's timeline is, we just might leave it for March. So hoping to get an update from them in the next day or so. I kept missing her. Jessica did reach out from Rosenheim and Associates. I missed her, and then when I called her, she wasn't available. So that's the elder care facility. And I don't have any information. I don't know how Pinn's bowling property, that property got on my list, but it did. Does anyone have any information? I know nothing. I haven't spoken to anyone. Dean, do you have anything to update?
I don't have any salient details other than I think they're still doing an analysis on what they can
do
kind of engineer.
Right. And who are they?
It's a long time partnership that comprises the Pins, Jerry's building, the Staples property, the Bed and Bath property, through Carney's, and all the way to Witsit, where City National is, all the way to the Coffee Bean. So pretty linear.
Is that just one owner, one entity, one?
It's a partnership, but there's several individual parcels. Each one of those, there might be 6, 7 parcels there.
Right.
That are large, obviously.
And it's a partnership that owns all of those? Wow. Okay. Any other information that you might have on that?
No, I think it's a mixed use project, and it's kind of making its way through some drawings and thoughts and how to engineer it. It might be in phases. They've got some time, fair amount of time to go because the leases they're kind of aligning them all, I think, there's about 6-7 years to go on the longest one. So I think that's really the timeline at the earliest.
Right.
Although depending which parcels, it could happen in phases too.
Right.
Because they own and operate actually the bowling alley. So that parcel could potentially, they shut down the bowling alley. That could be a phase one that could, go off sooner.
Right. Wow. So insane. Hi, Adele. Go ahead.
The owner of Carney's actually sold me my house and lives right down the street from me. And he said that the owners gave him another a new lease for 3 years just recently. So and he also said that he thinks, from what he could tell from them, that the city was pushing back on some of their plans, and so they're not getting, I guess, they're trying to figure out. They're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's not
It's still on the drawing table.
Yeah.
Something's gonna come forward, but they're wrestling with, again, heights and all sorts of the typical requests and what they can and think, and it's a big project.
Yeah, it's enormous. Barry Johnson.
Adele, are you talking about Bill, the owner of Carney's? Yeah,
Bill
I went
Wolf.
to high school with him.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was just going to say the one good thing is that the specific plan height on the north side of Ventura between Whitsett and Coldwater, allowable height is 30 feet, which is why the shops at Sportsman's are not over that. And with a density bonus, they could go, I think, 41 or 45 feet.
45.
So, and one other good thing is if they try to do a transit-oriented bonus, those bonuses are granted within half a mile, and half a mile from Laurel Canyon in Ventura is exactly in the middle of the intersection at Whitsett and Ventura. So this property to the west of Whitsett would not qualify at present anyway. That's not to say the planning department won't try and change it on us, but it would not qualify for a transit-oriented bonus. So at least we're not facing, 67 or 70 feet like we have a couple other places being proposed.
Right.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else with any questions? All right. So I think
Is that all of them, Lisa? I'm
I
sorry.
think
Was
the
that
Sportsman's, Sunswept, the Elder Care Facility, the supermarket, Harvard Westlake, River Project, the Pins Bowling property, Crescent Apartments. As of right now, that's all I've got. Do you know of any other that I missed? No?
No, I just wanted to, ask if we might keep an eye out on the developments that would include some type of, and I don't know if this is proper, Dean, you can advise me, electrical charging stations. I believe by the time a lot of these new developments are going to be finished, and then looking longer term as people live there for many, many years, the electrical vehicle industry will have grown substantially by then. And I just wondered if we might start looking at how those developments might include something for residents.
The charging
know.
stations? You want
For
more
charging
charging
stations.
stations, yeah? Okay.
I'm not familiar enough with what requirements the state may be imposing on these new developments for, from a requirement standpoint. I think clearly it's an amenity for these developers to add and to maintain, and it's an attraction. So I think that's a positive thing. I know as operating at the Vaughn Shopping Center in that large parking lot, we were approached by multiple charging companies to perhaps install in the rear of the parking lot, which is
And
still
how do
kind
they
of,
do that? Do they rent like a parking space, or do they rent
yeah,
the
yeah, they
square
would,
footage in the parking lot?
yeah, they would do that. They want to be in busy areas where people can come and plug in and then go be in the community and shop in the community or whatever they're doing in the community. So that's a good thing, certainly. It was just a challenge so far to dedicate the real estate for, the kind of term that they need to recapture the cost of the infrastructure. And there were also some, as I recall, some problems with the city as to where is optimal, where they can pull the power from that doesn't become cost prohibitive as well.
Good information. Mhm.
But charging is, very much, coming around the corner, if you will.
There is a fantastic charging station in the public parking right next to Pete's Coffee.
What makes it fantastic?
Oh my God. You pay, the parking itself is all you pay is what you would pay if you were sitting at a meter. And you can plug in your car for free and charge
On
it.
the street, I think on the street you're saying, right?
No, it's in the parking. It's next to the Bank of America.
The
Oh.
parking lot behind the Bank of
Yeah,
America?
Okay.
City owned
it's
parking lot?
the city
No,
owned parking lot.
that's the city lot though.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fantastic. It's the best place that I've gone to plug. I mean, because you can go to Whole Foods and they have plugins, but they're
Mhm.
always being used and it's
Yeah.
annoying. And that one, they're always, I shouldn't tell everybody, but they're always empty, and it costs you what it would cost you if you were at a meter.
Hmm.
And they have about, I would say they have about 5 or more of them in there. Just one whole wall is plugins. It's the best thing I've ever found. It's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
That
Hey,
parking lot is great.
Yeah, that parking lot is great. Hey, you know what? I wanted to share something with you. If you make me a co-host or something, I can share this map. One of my committee members on the sustainability committee made a map of the Ventura Corridor with all of the projects that you just discussed
Oh, amazing.
outlined, and I thought you would like to see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see how do I, oh yeah, here it is.
And while you do that,
So,
okay.
sorry. Oopsie, that's wrong thing. Here. So sorry. So there's Sportsman's, Weddington, Sunswept. I don't know what this is. And they have little, sorry, I don't quite know how to use the map, actually, sorry. Anyway, I just think to keep track of it all, I think he has, oh, this is the elder care. Yeah. And this is that the market? One of these is.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
Arch Drive.
There you go. There's the, sorry, I can't read it. That's the market.
Uh-huh.
And there's the Arch Drive, right?
Yes.
And then this is yeah. So I just think that's sort of interesting that, to see what's going on in Studio City, and because it's hard to keep track of everything,
Where can you find this, Adele? Is it on our website?
No, I just got it from one of my, from Jesse Sanford, made it for us. So we could look at, sustainability issues in Studio City and, tree plantings and open space and all of that. And so we were just sort of like feeling overwhelmed by all the projects. So Jesse made this map for us. It took him quite a while. It was quite labor intensive to do, but I can send it to you all. I can send it. There's a link. I can send a link.
That would be great.
Very impressive. Very impressive. Wow.
The library is too.
Say what?
The library's got like 3 or 4.
Of those maps?
No, of the charging stations.
Oh,
Oh.
I'm on a different topic. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that what Dean mentioned, that the real estate, giving up the real estate of a current location is a challenge. So helping to bring it to the forefront with the developers about planning long range might be a good guidance, so they don't meet with that same challenge down the road.
Yes. So we should, thank you, Adele, for that. If you could send it to us.
I will. I'll send it.
Yeah, that would be great.
It's a link. So.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I could include it in my agenda as well. Every time I send it out.
No, I might add actually something in connection with, my involvement and president of the bid. Vicky Nussbaum and I had a Zoom meeting with Hackman Capital, who are the new owners of CBS Studios.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so that was
Share.
an exciting meet and greet with all of their kind of
Who are
PR
they? Where are they from?
they're an investment group. They bought CBS Studios Center over the hill. And
Beverly as
they
well?
are one of the premier, one of the largest sound studio developers and all in the country, and acquiring more, but they were coming to the table to just meet, greet, understand the bid, things that are going on with the bid. So it was an exciting meeting. They've got a lot to plan there. They're trying to learn as much as they can, and there's a lot of upgrading they need to do. It's an old studio. I did invite them to bring back the July 4th Fantasia, but I don't know that that's
That would be
happening so
great.
quick.
That would be awesome.
But anyways, it was an exciting, meeting. I think they very much are committed to the jobs and more jobs that are there, and it being, a thriving lot and studio that it always has been. Michael Klossman, who was president there, he's actually coming back onto the lot. So that's actually a really good positive thing too, because he was a big supporter of Studio City, big supporter of the bid. So a lot of good roots coming back onto the property.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that. Any questions? All right, so I think we should just focus on, you can do it here and share, or you can take the survey or send in your comments, emails to me, and I'll incorporate them somehow, some way. But, we should really focus on what we would like to see in relation to Ventura Boulevard and our community as a whole. And one of the things that I'll go ahead and start, aside from the modernizing that I would like to see, and bringing, Ventura Boulevard into the 21st century, as opposed to having it look like it's in the 1970s and 80s, is some sort of a dash program. I don't know if you've seen these dash buses that ride and down the street in like no order aside from the metro. I mean, I'm more apt to like jump into a 25-cent ride, or, you know, eventually they're going to become electric if they're not already, to walk either up to Ventura Boulevard or down to Ventura Boulevard and hop on a dash bus that's small, that doesn't take up too much space. And to, you know, take a ride out to Trader Joe's as opposed to getting into my car and sitting in traffic, and getting into that parking lot. That's a nightmare. You know, if you're doing just, you know, a quick grocery run, or, you know, where you're not going to have 3-4 big grocery bags that are filled, or to just take a ride to, you know, the shops at Laurel Canyon, to take a walk and do some shopping, or to Sportsman's to eat a little bite and get back on the bus and head back home, or close to home at least. But I've always just envisioned this dash bus just driving up and down Ventura Boulevard in Studio City. I actually had proposed it to the PRB for each community to have this dash running. So it would take you, let's say if it started at Lancashire, it takes you to Fulton. You can hop off there and hop back on to the one in Sherman Oaks, and that takes you all the way to Encino, and so on and so forth. You get the picture. But any thoughts on an idea like that I'd like to propose? Yes, Jesse.
So the Ventura Boulevard route at least is currently served by the 150 and 240, right? And so are you proposing basically the same route, but just with different vehicles?
Because we have a dash that I think rides up and down Colfax and Moore Park. Barry would know more than I would on
Yeah, it's
that.
got a little bit of a crossover on Ventura for just a bit, but it deals a lot with Moore Park and Whitsett, and yeah.
Yeah, I think it goes up
It's only on Ventura from Laurel to Whitsett. And I think calling this a dash is really not what we want. I think what we really are talking about, I think, is almost perhaps even a dial-a-ride, but it would not be as large as a dash bus. It would be the size of like pickup vans you see at the airport taking you to a rental car, something that could hold, 15 people, and it could be on a standard route, or it could be you call, if you live up in the hills, you call, it comes and gets you, takes you to where you want to shop, and then you could call to go back. I'm not sure if we would want to go the dial-a-ride, but I think the dash bus system are all much longer routes between communities, not within a community. So I think we're looking for something smaller, for just
I just was
Studio
calling
City.
it the dash just because that's all I know, aside from
Yeah.
a cable car or
A shuttle. It's just a shuttle,
shuttle.
a community shuttle. of some sort.
Shuttle is the word. The bid experimented, and we did quite a bit of research. We were looking, if anyone's familiar with the electric shuttles that run back and forth in El Paseo, in Palm Desert. They're like 6-8 passenger golf carts. They're very bright yellow. They're promotional. We were looking into how to have an east-west shuttle that could move employees from the 400 car parking lot that's underused, back and forth, east and west.
Pardon me, but you're talking about just the bid area. I'm talking about the entire stretch of Ventura Boulevard.
Well, I'm just saying it can be all of it, of course, but I'm just
Sure.
saying what we were looking at and what we envisioned, something similar, basically, that was a people
where did it
mover,
go?
if you will. It was a people mover, which is what we're all wanting, and it was promotional. It was hop on, and if you're going from your home to CBS to get one thing, you might choose to use it.
And at
What
one
happened?
time,
What did it fall?
Lisa,
Um,
were you envisioning this coming how frequently?
Just running all day long.
No, how frequently between?
It was going to be weekends. It's a huge expense. There's a lot of liability issues. It depends on the type of vehicle. We tried it through, actually cooperated with CBS using their vehicles, their vans, their large
I
vans that
remember
they have.
that. I remember that,
And
Dean.
it didn't really garner a lot of ridership, to be honest, but we used it kind of as an experiment to see if people would. We bannered the vehicles when they were up and running, but there really wasn't a lot of ridership. And I think a lot of that just had to do with, it wasn't inviting, it wasn't attractive. You were still getting on, quote unquote, a bus. And I think that psychologically isn't what people necessarily want to get, feel like they're getting on. It just wasn't fun. It could be something that families, provided that it's safe, everyone wants to ride a golf cart. You can have an enhanced golf cart experience that's simple, that's green, all of that was kind of the goal. But the buses did not accomplish what we were really trying to do, but we used it as an experiment financially. And, then we kind of shut it down because the ridership wasn't there.
Was there a lot of outreach around it?
A fair amount, but not enough.
Yeah.
So
I think-
I'm just wondering, Lisa, if the bus, we do have the 240 that goes along all of Ventura Boulevard. There was a brief moment when they redid the bus schedules and before they realized they didn't have enough drivers, where the 240 was coming every 6 minutes. And it was really close to amazing. And they're struggling now with staff, and they're it's not working out as well. But if we were to get to the point where we had electrified buses, which they're shooting for, so newer buses, electric buses that ran along up and down Ventura Boulevard every 5 minutes, it seems to me that the only difference here is a psychological block of not wanting to get on a city bus.
That's right.
And
The psychological
in order to
block
create
is
something
big.
that's not a city bus, it would be super costly. And I think part of it sort of behooves us to advocate for more frequent bus service on the 240 and a quicker timeline for electrification. And the only thing that I would add is I've always, wished for, and whenever I have a chance, I advocate for more frequent service on the 218, which is a DOT bus. They're not the Dash and it's not Metro. It's that other service line that crosses Laurel Canyon and goes to Cedars-Sinai. It starts at Ventura Boulevard, goes over the canyon to Cedars-Sinai and back, but it runs every 50 minutes and it's never on time. I would just imagine that we could reduce traffic across Laurel Canyon during rush hour both ways if that went, every 10 minutes or
Right.
something. If we had additional service over the canyon, we could do a lot to reduce commuter traffic over the hill, because it does go to either where people are going to or connects to something that gets them to where they're going to.
It was a Beverly Center too.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have, are you done, Melanie?
Yeah.
Okay. We have Brandon, the chair of the outreach committee, on with us. He's here. And I'd like to propose, if you wouldn't mind, Brandon, kind of including the bus schedules, or maybe just like put a campaign together around the Metro and the ones that run up and down Ventura Boulevard, and see if we can just like get that on our website, and start just like talking about it at every one of our meetings. Just kind of like just want to let all stakeholders know that these buses do run up and down Ventura Boulevard for our convenience, because the traffic is just so out of hand now that everybody's back to normal, or at least partly there. So to just deal with the traffic on Ventura Boulevard, which leads me to my next point of the intersection at Radford and Ventura Boulevard. That has to be completely re-engineered. Those lights into Trader Joe's parking lot and to the studio and Ventura Place. And it's just a time suck. It just like keeps you there for how long? Barry, would you know?
Too long, but we did a motion and it'll be on the board meeting next week for correcting it.
Yeah, I've talked about it many times at the PRB. It just very slow moving. Is there any way that we can highlight this a little bit more?
Well, it essentially needs to go back to what it was, which was now, if you're going north on Radford, south on Radford or north out of the Trader Joe's parking lot, that used to be one signal segment. Now it's two. Well, when you do that, you cut off the time for the east-west traffic on Ventura, so it then backs up into the Ventura Laurel Canyon intersection. So you can't have it both ways. So we've got to go back to the way it was.
We really should, because the traffic that it is generating on the corner of Laurel Canyon is just unbearable.
Yeah, the backup's
The
been
backup
crazy.
is horrible.
Yeah, it backs up all the way almost to Vantage and beyond.
Yeah.
And they put it in 2 years ago, either March or April. It was kind of like at the beginning of the height of COVID and lockdown, and nobody was driving. So it really wasn't, we all didn't really notice it so much until this past September when all the schools were back. And now it's, prevalent in the morning and afternoon especially, but even at noontime it can happen. So,
yep.
Yeah.
It's pushing people into the two parking lots, north and south, to drive through the parking lot at not safe speeds, and that's pushing people in behind into the residential neighborhoods, trying to kind of find a parallel route, and it's problematical big time.
Can you keep us posted on that, Barry Johnson, please? I would really appreciate it. Terry,
do what?
Just keep us posted with what's going on.
And can I mention one other thing? And that is, there used to be the 150, 240, and 750 on Ventura through Studio City. Through the Next Gen bus initiative, it's all under one bus now. It's the 240 is the only one, but the frequency is more during the morning and afternoon rush hours for the 240. They run at less than 10-minute intervals. I think it's even 7 or 8 minute intervals during morning and afternoon. So we do only have one metro bus on Ventura now, but it's running more frequently. And then of course we have our Dash, and then the 230 that goes north on Laurel Canyon, but they're only running at like 20-minute intervals. And the 218, as Melanie was saying, that goes to Cedars over the hill, I think is at maybe 30-minute intervals. So
50.
just update.
Yeah, I think it's 50, closer
It's
to an hour.
50-minute intervals. And just so everybody knows, the Dash, it takes you to the shopping mall up on Riverside and Woodman, and it also takes you to City Hall if you ever want to go to either of those places without having to drive. And it's a nice ride, and it's a quick ride, and it does a circle. So you can go clockwise or counterclockwise, and it takes off from the corner of Laurel and Ventura.
I know, I love it.
And there's never many people.
I know. We all need to start using it. I take the metro to the Hollywood Bowl and various other places, and I have to tell you, those buses are really great. You have free Wi-Fi, the news ticker is going, comfortable seats.
Honestly, if we had a 5-minute interval, it would be so sweet. And they're reducing and thinking about eliminating fares. And I mean, it could really revolutionize, a lot of things in the city. So, yeah.
Oh, and it was free during the entire pandemic. The metro was free. I really would like to encourage everyone to at least try it once.
Also, 240 goes to Olive Medical Center. That's a long route.
Yeah. Patty Kirby, I'm sorry, wait, hold on, Patty, I'm sorry. Terry, I had called on you.
Oh, thanks, Lisa. The shuttle bus idea, especially on Ventura Boulevard, I think is really attractive. And, you know, in Beverly Hills and in Santa Monica, they have shuttle buses that are in an old, a vintage sort of style of bus. Pardon?
Yeah.
Cable car?
Yes, a cable, well, yes, but they're electric, so they're not really on a cable, but they look like a cable car. And it could enhance the fact that we do have a really strong historic place in LA history. And the only thing about shuttle buses is as soon as they have to make a right or left turn, they just jam up traffic. So as long as they're going in one direction back and forth, I think they're just like, could really be charming. And certainly I would definitely take one. If I could walk up to Ventura Boulevard and go either way on Ventura Boulevard, I think would be a great idea. So my thought was just about what they might look like and the fact that they shouldn't make any turns.
Right. Good point. I'm actually going to get on eBay and see if there are any cable cars that are up for auction. Patty Kirby?
Just curious, what is the bus that I always get behind? On Moore Park, going from Laurel Canyon to Witsit. I'm always get behind a bus.
That's the Dash.
It's the Dash.
It is the Dash.
Yeah, that is the Dash. It's a
Well,
small.
it could also be the 230.
No,
I don't know
it's
that.
not a regular bus. It's a smaller. It
Oh,
looks-
that's the Dash, yeah.
Oh, because I didn't know that it went on Moore Park until I get behind it every single time.
It's the Dash, and those Dash buses, I mean, that's all I know. So I keep calling this thought of mine the Dash bus, but they're great. I mean, they're a really good size. I just wish they went up and down Ventura Boulevard or something similar to the Dash bus, basically kind of like the same size. I think it would really alleviate a lot of traffic. Brandon Marino.
Yeah, I'm on the LADOT website right now. I'm looking at the map. I'll put that on our website and our social media. And also apparently if you go to ladotbus.com, and if you're accessing their website from a mobile phone, like a smartphone, like iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy, it'll automatically redirect you to the mobile site, and you can save that on your phone. So I'll put it on social media as well, so people can have that on their phone, and it's inside their pocket. You know, I don't know how detailed it is, if it's real time when the buses are going to arrive or not, but I'll take a look at that and put the links up on social media.
Yeah.
And you can do that for Metro.
The transit app.
Do it for Metro too.
The transit app is what Metro has there were several competing apps, and right now it's called Transit for your phone. And that is that you can see the buses coming. It gives you real time. It usually works. Sometimes it glitches, but it's getting better and better. So if you want to have something in your phone to know when the buses are coming or departing, and you can see them on the map on your phone, it's Transit.
Very cool. So Google has, the feature with the map where I use it a lot. Your starting point, your destination, and you can click, bus, car, walking, and it'll give you the bus schedule of what time it's coming and your route. You can add stops to it. That's a really nice feature as well. Adele?
I was thinking about down in Santa Monica where they have those streets that are closed, and then people only walk in that area. I know it's impossible because we're that 17-mile corridor, but and then I was also thinking, if you wanted to have sort of places, this was my idea a long time ago, is if there were places for people to park, at one end of Ventura, like, around Lankershim or Vineland, and then you could get on a bus and go all the way up and down and back again, you know, or all the way, let's say, you know, I know people, when they go to the farmer's market, which they closed down Ventura Place, a lot of people go park in that, what is it, that parking lot behind CVS and in there, even though they don't like you to do that. There's nowhere else to go park, you know, and then
Yeah.
walk over. And, you
Well,
know,
that's
just,
one of our biggest issues is that there's hardly any parking on Ventura
Yeah.
Boulevard. So
Yeah.
to try and alleviate traffic, parking,
right. And I'm just thinking, you know, if there were, I don't know, like how you would engineer it, you know, if there were places that lots of cars could park and then you could get out and take a bus and go up and down.
we
Yeah.
don't have spaces. We don't
Yeah.
have the space.
Isn't
We don't
that
have
why
the
the
spots
that
except for the-
parking lot was built by the
Yep.
bid?
That's why we wanted the shuttle, so that people could park there and then take off from that shuttle.
Right.
I've also been working toward talking to Chase, because Chase has a lot of land that seemingly is underutilized, and one of the active property owners right in that Ventura Place community really wanted to build a parking structure. And we're kind of approaching them, but more than likely it's not going to be something they want to do, but it could start by digging a parking lot there. They don't want to give up probably valuable airspace that's rentable, but starting and digging in that triangle and the space north of the bank, that's sizable area that could accommodate a lot of parking starting at least below. And this developer is interested in funding a project of that nature. So that's something that I'm kind of working on.
Cool.
And that's at the property at Chase on the corner of Ventura Boulevard across
Yeah.
from where the Kinko's.
Yeah, where
FedEx Kinko's.
farmers market uses it, but you know, whether it be vertical or you know, one way or the other, there's a lot of parking opportunity there as well.
Mhm.
But
And
that's
isn't-
not to say that, you know, the B of A parking lot, 400 car parking is still very underutilized.
Right, and the CBS parking structure had offered farmers market parking. Is that still an offer when people go to the farmers market that they can park in the CBS parking
They're not
structure?
doing it till COVID restrictions are lifted.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you.
If you want to see what it looks like to have those simulations of cable cars on the boulevard, they run them from the Beverly Garland to Universal on Ventura Boulevard, and they seem to stay out of the way of most of the people. So it is possible to use those funny vehicles along Ventura Boulevard.
All right, thank you. So one of the other things that I'd like to see is a prominent Studio City sign. So not something small and in this median type of thing. I don't know if everyone's driven through Encino, where they have the Encino Commons sign that goes from one end of Ventura Boulevard, south to north, north to south. I would like to see not that exact sign, but something similar, maybe. I know this is going to sound super outlandish, but like, go on this ride with me for a second. If you can visualize, you know, like the Knickerbocker sign that's in Hollywood that you can see off the 101 freeway. Something maybe vertical.
The bid talked about this as a special project, and that's along the lines of what Courtney is looking, and
That's
some of
right.
those project fees can facilitate these
Yeah.
kinds of projects. I know the bid did actually walk with city planning and they were talking about the funds that were available or could be available and what sorts of things, because we were very much interested in lighting the palm trees and making them far more promotional and fun to walk, and lighting it at night. And that was a great source of potentially a very uplifting area in the
Right.
bid and electrifying it. We've tried to play with solar and LED, but it's just not there. But getting the electricity and getting twinkling lights and such and all the palm trees wrapped and all, it was really, a fun idea.
Yeah, again, that's the bid. So what I was thinking about this sign would be more towards Lancashire, somewhere
Mhm.
between Lancashire and Campo de Coenda, maybe on top of the Ralphs. The roof of the Ralphs, just something that's like prominent that you could see off the 101 freeway, but like that's welcoming folks from Hollywood, LA, knowing that there's a transition being made from the LA side into Studio City and the gateway to all of the valley, because that's where it starts really. So I would like to put a proposal together for this such sign. And I would like the help of someone from my committee, or not my committee, a stakeholder who could put together a budget for me, with me, maybe a design, calling all artists. Barry Johnson, you have a thought?
I don't have really a proposal. I just hope we don't end up with something like Encino has. I think it's god awful.
No, absolutely not. No, but I just wanted to present a visual as to how big it should be.
And I liked what Dean was saying in terms of perhaps lighting the palm trees as one aspect, because our palm trees are sort of Studio City's trademark in a way.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to belabor the bid, but it is our village. It is our ground zero in a way. But for instance, one of the problems we have with the parking structure is the sign that was built. It says Studio City Public Parking, and it's faded. It's Art Deco, which is clearly appropriate, but we were looking at how to enhance it, how to make it more visible, so that people would use it. But along with these projects comes the maintenance of them too. And it's one thing to put it up; it's another to keep it alive.
Sure.
And so we're struggling with the funds to keep and renovate that sign and all, because a lot of our funds are going to security and such, and all of the labor that goes in to keeping the village, the bid clean, the amount of sidewalk steam cleaning and trash pickup, etc. But labor's gone up, as we know, minimum wage, and so we used to have these budget, these excess funds, or not excess funds, but special projects. But one of the things that, we're struggling is we want that parking structure to be used. And you drive by that parking sign and you don't know it's there. And so that was one of the things, that we were talking about. But to the point of your sign, you also got to deal with the maintenance of it.
Yeah, and insurance as well. There would be a lot of fees attached.
Wherever it goes comes the maintenance.
Right.
And
Brandon, hang on a second, Lana. Brandon?
Yeah, I have an idea regarding your sign, but it would actually be on the other side of Studio City. There's 0.4 of a mile stretch between Fulton and the shops at Coldwater. That's basically south of the boulevard, and it's basically a park, but not in name. It's a walkway. There's boulders. There's endangered trees like coastal live oaks.
Oh.
Apparently somebody a long time ago, some very wealthy individual put money up for it, but it's not a park. And apparently if you go onto Zemus, it really doesn't even say what it is.
Oh.
I would love that to be part of LA parks. I think it's a park. I've seen smaller parks, and this is 0.4 of a mile stretch between Fulton and I believe
Can you bring it up on your Google
It's
Maps
it's
or
Fulton and
anything?
Coldwater, just one block
It's
west of
almost
Fulton.
Coldwater. Yeah,
On the
it's
south
it's right
side.
right where the
On the
Bistro
south side.
Garden used to be,
Yeah,
and
Valley
it's
Vista.
people Valley
there's
Vista.
a
That's it.
walking path there.
Yeah, but it used to be Ivy. But there
Mhm.
are it's there's no it's when you're coming from the west eastward, it's like when you're on Sunset Boulevard, you know
Right.
instantly when you're in Beverly Hills. Right away you know you're in Beverly Hills. That is that's a landmark of Studio City, and there is nothing like it along Ventura Boulevard anywhere. And I looked. Nowhere on Ventura Boulevard. The closest thing we have is the Studio City Beautification Association has a little corner. I think it's closer to Colfax, but that's a very small little bend. That's a nice little walking area with plants and everything with their sign right there. But this is almost a half a mile of walking path and trees. I was actually going to put together a proposal where LA Parks takes it over, and there could be little plots of native indigenous drought tolerant plants that can almost work like the Lillard outdoor classroom used to be between Fulton and Coldwater along the LA River, where they planted indigenous plants and children would show up and you would teach them the native plants of the area. That's kind of fallen into disarray, unfortunately. I guess the person that used to maintain it no longer maintains it anymore. But having this walkway, which people use all the time, having plots showing indigenous plants, maybe showing and this is more for Adele actually, maybe showing homeowners, if you want to start re-landscaping your property, how about these plants? You don't have to water them. They're drought tolerant. It'll save you on water bill. And here it is right here. This is what you can use. LA Parks would take that over, and they would also maintain the sign. Just a
Brandon,
thought.
Richard Adams planted all those, and he had to take them out. He planted everything that you just said, and he had to take them out.
It also doesn't
And
work on oak
also
trees.
keep in mind that Studio City starts at Long Ridge, not Fulton, on the south side. So from Fulton to Long Ridge on the south side, it's not us. It's at Long Ridge that Studio City starts. And that's where our Studio City LA or LA sign for Studio City was, and somebody took it, and we're still trying to get it put back there. The sign that says Studio City with the city seal.
And just for input from an ecological perspective, the oak tree canopy there is pretty comprehensive, and there's not a lot you can plant successfully under an oak canopy.
Yeah, 15 feet from the drip point, I think it's called.
Right.
Not every tree is a coastal live oak. Every other tree or every third tree is a coastal live oak.
Right.
But you have to go 15 feet from the drip point or something like that. It's a county thing. They're protected by the county. But you could have areas away from the oaks that show, and then of course, if you plant it yourself, they'll tell you to rip it up, obviously. But if it's a city project and it's to educate the homeowners south of the boulevard as to how to landscape their homes and save money on water costs, I don't see why the city wouldn't do it.
Well, two reasons. The City of Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks is massively underfunded. They're also not well trained in how to maintain native landscapes. That's been a challenge that we've been trying to address for a very long time. And honestly, the river greenways are supposed to be able to serve that purpose because those are the native plants that work in this particular part of the valley. So that the greenway planting should serve that purpose. And I don't think Rec and Parks would maintain the property very well. And it's just that if you look at what's the space available outside of the tree canopy, it's pretty limited. And then you have to maintain and fund the irrigation to establish it and to maintain it, and people walk. It's a lot of challenge. I know people have been looking at it for a long time. It's been cleaned up and the pathways have been created, and it's used pretty nicely by the folks there. And I use it myself a few times a week after physical therapy, but I don't see it being able to be activated for kids in that way. And I don't see this Rec and Parks taking it on, honestly.
They made them take out the plants for the exact reason Melanie just stated, because of the oak trees. And those oak trees are protected by the city.
So this is where from Long Ridge to Valley Vista, is that This is along here is the part that you're
But it goes
talking
beyond
about.
Valley Vista, Ethel.
Right, it goes
Oh, it
to
keeps
Long
going.
Ridge. It goes to Long Ridge.
Oh, it goes
to
Van Ord.
Van
Yeah.
Ord. Van
Right.
Ord, Long Ridge to
So
Van Ord.
just to speaking to, for a second to Lisa's idea, you could have the sign here, right, at the beginning near Long Ridge.
I think at one point beautification had
Yes.
somebody doing
There
welcome
is-
to Studio
And-
City.
And
There
sign
is
up.
a
and
sign
still
there.
is.
Yeah.
It's still there, doesn't it say
Yeah.
welcome to Studio City in that
No,
walking?
The
No?
SCRA is going to put a sign there. We've got the approval, just haven't done it. But if you look, it's really to bookend Studio City on the east side and west side. That's the west side. The east side, welcome to Studio City, is already in next to Ralph's near Vineland. So I think you want something else.
Yes,
I
do.
thought there was one in that median, in that walk area at
There
Long
is.
Ridge. I saw it.
Only a city blue sign with the city seal.
Okay, so now that we've established those small plaque signs that are on the side of the road, my vision is not that. So mine's on a more grand scale, that is bigger, that's higher, that you can also see from the 101 freeway, that welcomes you as the gateway into Studio City. So I'm trying to bring attention to the forgotten end of Ventura Boulevard on the east end so that it's not forgotten anymore or no more. So thank you all for that input, but that is what I would like to see. So Lana, did you have anything else to say before I move on to Terry? You had started to say something.
I was gonna say about the underutilized parking area, maybe some of the fees that we're discussing in this survey or whatever could go to establish a sign that says public parking ahead. I don't know, do we have something like that, Dean, along the corridor
No.
of Ventura Boulevard? Because that could be
No.
very helpful. Like when I go places, it's always helpful when I'm looking for if I'm looking for a parking deck that it says public parking ahead or something
Yeah,
like that.
no, there's not like it's undersigned. It could have a
Mhm.
blinking light that brings your attention to it clearly.
Something like that. And then I wanted to add to Lisa's suggestions, but let me know when we get to that part, Lisa.
Okay, Terry Austin.
Thank you, Lisa. Just very quickly, I was so glad that Brandon mentioned pocket parks. I think that as we know, from Cahuenga down to the 405, all of this land is multi-use and is going to be developed over the next 10 years. And I just hope that we'll keep in mind as much possibility to preserve as many existing trees and existing landscape that's there, because new plantings, as Melanie pointed out, the city does not have a good history with supporting new growth of saplings and 28-inch and 48-inch boxes. So I'm just hoping that going forward that we think about not just planting trees and new trees, but preserving what we've got. And that isn't at the expense of the developer. It's just that it seems to be that the common practice is just go and clear cut things, and planters can be built around existing trees. When I say planters, I mean like masonry and things that are raised up off the ground, and then ramps are built around them. They do this all over in Paris and in London. They do this, and I just want to shout out for the trees that we already have that are already providing a canopy and shade rather than thinking about new plantings as much. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Sure, and along with that goes the thought of just needing to go up and down Ventura Boulevard and identify, sadly, the dead trees and removing some of the stumps, because some businesses have taken the initiative to cut down trees and left the stump sitting there. And it's so unfortunate to see this. And with the pandemic and the water shortage, where people just stopped watering their trees in front of their businesses on the sidewalks. And then that lends itself to the garbage that's just collecting, especially on the East End, where there is no street sweeping. We don't have a bid on the Forgotten End. So garbage just piles up to no end, and businesses have to be notified to at least take a broom and really sweep up in front of your storefront and take a power washer or hire a company to do that for you, whatnot. So it's a collective effort that needs to be really looked at. I'm sorry, I don't know who the puppy, oh, Melanie, yes.
That's Maisie. She's nicer to look at than me. I just wanted to, I mean, we've been talking about the, Studio City's penchant for iconic palm trees, but we lack shade. And you're never going to get a vibrant enough, as temperatures rise even today, but it's going to get worse. You're never going to get a vibrant, pedestrian-oriented customer base in businesses, even if you improve the pedestrian orientation of the business stretch on Ventura. People are not, they're going to park, go into one shop, maybe two or three, and then leave. You're not going to get people coming and walking the whole boulevard. There's lots of data on this, but having good tree canopy and having shade is critical. And because we're so committed to these palm trees, and because we've sort of, I guess, looked at the trees we planted in between as a nuisance rather than a benefit, we're in this kind of pickle. The other thing that trees provide, besides the shade and the cooling, is carbon sequestration, and we need that desperately as well. So I'm wondering if the bid can, if there's some sort of collaboration that the bid can do with the neighborhood council, sustainability and land use to look at where we really do need to focus on adding shade tree canopy throughout the boulevard, because as fun as the palm trees are, they don't provide the kind of physical benefits that are necessary for a vibrant pedestrian-oriented business district. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Dean.
I have a lot of thoughts, but I don't know what the statistics are. I could tell you that the businesses, and to Lisa's point about people going after the trees because it blocks their signs, people are always calling Vicky, can I trim it? And you can take out your own permit to trim the trees from the city, and there are guidelines there that sometimes are followed and sometimes not, but the trees are definitely problematical. They're messy. I hear the shade thing, and under the shade is also a bench, and the benches have become problematical with the homeless. It's a really big challenge amongst all of that, but I hear what you're saying, but there's a number of issues that come up with the maintenance and the cost of it, and the bid's basically taken over the city's job because they can't trim the trees. So I think trees are great. I love green. I totally support it. I think the whole bid supports it, but it's a challenging proposition.
So I've been, thank you for that, Dean, trying to put a proposal together to bring in more trees. I hate to keep bringing my conversation back towards the East End, but that is.
And actually, to that point, Lisa, the bid, moved west from Whitsett to Coldwater. And at one point, we were trying to move east as well. And we went out on a campaign, and we couldn't get enough owners to get on board to do that. Otherwise, the bid could grow. It could provide more services and all of that, but we could not get enough people. And really what they're doing is taxing themselves, because that's what the bid budget is additional property taxes for the district. And they did not want to become a part of it because they didn't feel that the services and the benefits were going to be there.
Right.
Can we make that a condition for these new developments to get a membership? Just ask it.
Yeah.
It's a process. It's a process that the bids have to go through with the voting process. And you have to have percentages. We're kind of locked in for the next 3 years where we are, but we could elect to expand the bid. But it's technical, and it does take, the property owners to adopt it.
Right. Barry Johnson.
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm all for trees, but you can notice on Ventura that we planted trees between every palm tree. So we're not going without trees. And like Dean said, there are issues with shop owners complaining about the trees blocking. But I just want to say that for Studio City, with, half our population that probably goes to the businesses on Ventura, they live up in the hills in $4 million houses or more. They drive down to the business district in their $100,000 cars, and they want to park next to where they're going. And if they're going a quarter mile away, they're going to drive to the next place they're going. That's a reality because people live up in the hills. So I think we have to take that into account too. We're never going to have everybody strolling along Ventura that lives around Studio City. Half of them are always going to be driving, I think.
Okay, thank you. So what I would like is for a number of you, whomever would like to take this on, is to identify areas where parklets, like we were just discussing, that's on my list. I'd like to have some parklets up and down Ventura Boulevard in Studio City, or even off the side streets. So one of the areas that I was thinking about was the corner of Eureka on the south side and Ventura Boulevard, where it's kind of an odd shape, right? There's just like this small median, and then there's a bus stop where the Sugarfish is and the Vietnamese restaurant, both corners, east and west, to maybe close off one of those forks in the road and turn that into a parklet. Because we need more green on these streets. I mean, we're becoming just one giant concrete mess. So to just keep an eye out in your area, if you can identify a certain parcel or just a corner or a space that we can maybe designate as a parklet, just keep that in mind. And then aside from that, street sweeping is one of my goals to make sure that starts happening on the east end, because the amount of garbage that's just on the sidewalks and on the streets in the gutters is just unacceptable, really. And last but not least on my list would be graffiti. So if all of you would just take a second, if you haven't done so already, in downloading the 311 app on your phone, and as you're driving and you do come upon the unsightly graffiti that you see on the streets, on the poles, on the, just wherever it is, if you could either send the picture to me and I'll go ahead and take care of it, or if you could just take a photo with the 311 app, it identifies where you're actually standing, the address, and it's just like a couple of clicks on the app and you send it in. And if we could get the city to come out and put a coat of paint, that would be really, really helpful, because it goes in waves, right? It goes, all of a sudden, it like the area is just covered in graffiti. And then it's kind of like a quiet period, and then it starts up again. So if we could just stay on top of it as a community, I would really appreciate that. Melanie, did you have something else to add, or is your hand just?
Oh, God, sorry, I forgot to put it down.
Okay. So those are the things that I would like to see, and I would really like it if you could either share tonight what you would like to see, or if you could just like fill out that survey and send it in, or send me an email and I'll compile it all. But I really would like to just take this seriously and work together as a community to see a better, beautiful, more sustainable, green Ventura Boulevard and beyond into our neighborhoods. Lana?
Yes, thank you. So I've had a special request more than once to see about installing more trash receptacles in our area. Now, I
Okay.
believe that some have been taken out, and the reason I heard for that was that they didn't have the numbers of folks with the city that could maintain the pickup from the public trash receptacles. However, as you were speaking about the East End, Lisa, it made me think, well, a lot of those owners have to do a lot of their own stuff. You know, is there adequate trash there? And as we do look to improve Ventura Boulevard, say when those romantic little twinkle lights go up in the palm trees, we may have some more foot traffic going and visiting at night. Some of these, you know, the cookie place and the ice cream place and the, you know, the dinner places. It'd be nice because people will walk out with something in their hand and they'll have a place to throw it. So that's one of those requests, is to look at more receptacles, trash receptacles.
Very good. It's on my list. Thank you for that. Anyone else?
I don't want to tout the bid, but you know, part of
Oh,
Part
but
of
go
what-
ahead.
part of what makes that area, you know, as vibrant as it is, or as clean as it is one of the bid functions. There's 108 trash cans that get emptied 3 times a week, and there's 7-day a week 2 or 3 day porters that come through, sweep sidewalks and sweep the gutters in lieu of the street sweeping. So a lot of people don't understand that that's going on, or aren't aware, but that's really what's going on behind the scenes there.
Oh, no, we're
pretty
aware. It's the bid, so
Yeah.
it looks really good. And what was that, 108 trash cans?
I think it's like 108 cans from Bradford or Carpenter to Witsit, something
That
right
get
around there.
emptied 3 times a week, did you say?
Yeah.
I'm just writing it down just so I know what to ask the city to do for us on the East End.
Yeah.
3 times a week, and what else did you
I think
say?
it is. Yeah, we have 2 day porters, I think it is. That's 7 days
What
a
is
week.
that? What is that?
Day porters?
Yeah.
It's labor that sweeps and picks up papers and is raking, you know, the leaves, debris, whatever they see. They walk the blocks, you know, every day. They're moving about the bid.
Okay. Is that like 7 days a week or?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a lot of man hours. You'll see them. They have little orange and yellow vests. They're not city people. It says Studio City bid, but those are employed by the bid.
So since we are on the bid, if I may, what can we do, Dean, to get the family that owns, or the person or the group, the partnership, whatever, that owns the CVS on the corner of Ventura and Laurel Canyon? right at that corner there. Well, how can we get these people to paint that building, to add something to their window fronts instead of having paper towels and toilet paper and everything else that stares out onto the boulevard? Some window coverings, just something to upgrade it, to bring it up to just like a standard that we would appreciate.
I doubt we could be successful with the property owner. It's probably a PR thing with CBS in their public relations. I know what you're speaking of because I've sat in the red light and looked in the window, and it might be as simple as just making it opaque, like not blacking it out, but just an opaque, maybe 4 feet up from the ground or something to soften it. But I know what you're talking about. They may look at it as, well, we want people to see in the store. I don't know, but there's probably a few different ways to attack it. I can have Vicky study that and come up with some angles on perhaps how to disguise that and make it, prettier.
Yeah, just anything that would be just cleaner, really, and a bit more inviting. I think a coat of paint would really do them some good.
For a long time, the building was peeling, if you recall.
Yes,
on
I
the
do.
Canyon side. Yeah, and they finally attended to it.
And the lighting in there is dismal. So even if you're sitting at the light at Laurel and you look in, it's just like dreary, really. So just my thought, since it is part of the bid, if we could get the family to look into that, that would be great. And if Vicky needs us to have a petition signed by stakeholders that want to see an upgrade on that corner, we could do that for her. That would be great. Terry Austin.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, that particular CVS, I have been there I go there all the time. And excuse me, the manager there, excuse me, his name is Derek, and he's really nice. And I think if we engage the manager of the store and give him the importance of hey, we're coming to you, that he can go farther up with getting something done. I've had a few issues with the store and mentioned it to him, and he's been very responsive. So I think just maybe starting at the bottom, that level of the actual store manager might actually get some buy-in from the store.
That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Calling me?
Yeah.
Oh, talking about that CVS. I don't know if that's an historic building, but it's been there forever. So if that's the one you're talking about on the southwest corner, you can put some kind of vinyl wrapping on that window that's perforated to still allow the light in, but maybe have some kind of historical mural showing all the many years that building's been around, as many iterations. I know it was Thrifty at one time or whatnot. I probably can't use Thrifty because it's a brand name, but I don't know. Maybe you could throw some historical black and white photos, kind of a mural of the history of that building, and again, perforated so light gets through, almost like they have on city buses. Yeah. That would be interesting. As people are sitting there waiting for the bus, they could look at that and say, oh God, this building's been here since the 30s or 40s. I didn't know that.
No, that's a great idea, because the Wells Fargo, all the Wells Fargos actually in Studio City have those types of murals inside the bank on the walls. They're huge. That's such a good idea. Dean, are you taking notes?
I am. I'm going to talk to Vicky and see what we can do with Terry's suggestion and all, and see what their response is. If, their after display versus, it's going to be interesting, but at least maybe we can change it from toilet paper to something else.
That would be amazing. Lana?
Hi. Can
Hi.
you hear me? Do I have my mic on? Okay. Hi. So I got excited when you started talking about window displays because, we have here in Los Angeles is the Fashion Institute. And not only do people at the Fashion Institute learn how to make fashion, but they do merchandising as well. And it might be something interesting to have some kind of competition in each one of the windows by a fashion merchandising person, or retail merchandising that they could come in and have maybe once a year or something. I don't know, but that way you would have some extra free help with some notoriety. They could have a sign of the name of the person or the student or something. I don't know. You could make a nice PR thing out of it as well, I would think. I mean, they'd have to have parameters, but that could give you something interesting as well. Just
At the CVS.
yeah. No, it's not they're merchandising people too. So they take the products that are from the CVS and they make the display, but they could make it with something interesting. Just like Brandon was saying, oh, and you could have a mural. Well, you could do, incorporate something like that, but you could have people who do that kind of stuff all the time come and I don't know. There's something there. There's lots of people in this town that know how to do window displays like Saks Fifth Avenue during Christmas, right?
Maybe that would be good in the Gap storefront, or the
I don't know. I'm not talking about putting, Escada in the window or whatever.
Yeah, I like it. Who is this that's on the phone? 323 ends in 018.
Ruth?
Hi, it's Barry. I had to call back. I disconnected myself, but I just was going to say, keep in mind that any murals have to be vetted by neighborhood councils and the council office. That was something we supported, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. So you can't just go putting a mural up. And within the specific plan, there's more regarding that. So it has to, if you're going to do anything like that, it's got to be vetted and then looked into regarding the specific plan.
It does start to fall under the sign codes.
Yeah.
But we're talking on inside of the store, right? Coming through the window, what you see.
That's the same
That's
thing. It's
different.
anything you can see from outside.
Well, if it's a display of merchandise from the store, that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I recommended the merchandising students.
It's all good. It's all going into a big pile. This is great.
I got my hand up again, if that's
I see
okay.
it.
I'm hoping there aren't going to be more accidents. I'm hoping there aren't going to be more accidents at Laurel Ventura this next week because everyone's going to be looking how to enhance their ideas there.
So as somebody who doesn't drive in the neighborhood and who is a pedestrian and who lives very close to that intersection and goes to CVS all the time, from a pragmatic perspective, I will say that the fact that they have permanently closed their Laurel Canyon Ventura Boulevard entrance is kind of a problem. It forces people who would otherwise go, walking into there off the boulevard to go back around to the lovely parking lot in order to get in and to leave the store. So if in talking to the manager, talking how we could activate that additional opening, and I'm pretty sure it's probably related to security issues. I think the door was broken at one point. But having that activated is, I think, is part and parcel with having the visual elements of that corner be a lot more attractive. So I would love to have that be part of the conversation. And just while we're blending the two topics of the CVS corner and the traffic backups there, drivers might not realize that pedestrians can't see all the faces of the drivers. So just so you know, I cross that corner a lot and often at rush hour. And since the traffic has gotten bad and left turners are real, I can't think of a nice enough word at the moment, selfish, people who choose to turn long after the light for turn has expired, which is, I think, contributes more to the backups than the signalization at Radford does, frankly, as somebody who walks there a lot. I have taken to, and this is an apology if I've done this to any of you, but I'm not going to stop until people get better. My anger at having the crosswalk completely blocked for the entire walk time for pedestrians by people who have selfishly turned long after the turn light and who jam it up for people driving in the other direction as well. My only outlet is to give people the finger and look them directly in the eye, even though I can't really see their face. So if you've seen me do that to you, I apologize, but I need some sort of outlet for that, and to let drivers know, they're angry that they're sitting there and they're just somewhat mildly embarrassed that they're blocking traffic in the other direction, but they're not really, I don't think, registering that they're the asshole, pardon my French. So I, as a pedestrian, have taken to just trying to look in the direction of their faces, flipping them off and staring them down, and then looking at the ball and going, you're a bad person. You are a bad person. You are the traffic. It's a terrible, unsafe place to be. And so we're just letting y'all know, if that happens to you one day, don't take it personally, because I really can't register faces, but this is how I'm processing it. And I do think that people turning left long after they should legally do so is contributing more to the backing up at that intersection than the Radford signalization. And that's just me as a pedestrian. So thanks.
Thank you. Duly noted. Brandon Marino.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. Melanie's rant, while I'm staring at the picture of that really cute dog, was quite an experience. I don't know how to react. It's almost as though the dog was speaking, and it just didn't seem right to me.
Well, she's walking with me, so think about the poor dog having to go through that too.
That was it? Seriously? All right, Barry, do you have any more to say?
All I was going to say was for Melanie, that CVS door on Ventura legally has to be used as per the specific plan. They seem to have shut it down, from what I could tell, when COVID struck, and then they legally got away with only having one entrance because they were regulating who could come in, and they have since not reopened it again. But I believe now you could call 311 and report it, because there's nothing saying a business can do that now, except for the fact they might say they don't have enough employees because they can't hire them. So they might still get away with it on that point. I don't know. But the specific plan says that businesses like that have a door have to use that door on Ventura for the whole pedestrian-oriented aspect. So it could be reported now, I believe.
Thanks, Barry. I think it might be better brought up by the bid in the conversation, but if that doesn't work, then we can always report them.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll investigate it. I mean, I think it was even before the pandemic. I think it became a security problem.
Yes, very much so, as did the
was
Walgreens.
part of the issue, but it also bodes to, I gotta believe that there's some emergency exit requirements where that, I don't know if it operates from, if you're in it, it would open out, or how they have that working, but there has to be some exiting requirements there as well, for emergency purposes, but we'll visit it.
Thank you. Adele?
I just wanted to say that the Sustainability Committee is looking into adding more trees to wherever on the boulevard there are empty wells,
Amazing.
Yeah, so we'll work with you on that. And I think
That's great.
the parklets is a great idea. I'll bring that up next week in my meeting. And also, I don't think anyone volunteered to help you out with the sign. I'll help you out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm glad you were listening. I really appreciate that, Adele.
And just to be clear, you want the sign on your end,
That's right.
and you want it to be very big so that you could see it from the 101.
Yeah. We'll work
Oh,
on it
wow.
together. I want it to go on a building, like the Ralphs
Oh,
or
down
the
at,
public storage.
okay.
Think Lincoln.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, that sounds like fun. I'd like to work on that.
Yeah, we could work on the design together and put a budget together. And then that way I can go and hound some people to give us some money for it.
Awesome.
All right. So with that.
And maybe say gateway to the 101 because Ventura was the original 101.
Okay, thank you.
Since Barry spoke without this, let me ask something really quick. I think, I don't know if billboards are the only rule for this, but if a billboard can be seen from a freeway, does Caltrans have a say in it? I read there somewhere once about billboards being seen from the 101 or another freeway that Caltrans has to have a say in it somehow.
There's going to be a lot of people that are going to have a say in it.
Okay, so okay.
It's gonna be like,
I didn't, but I read somewhere about billboards and Caltrans, so I didn't know if this would apply as well.
oh yeah, no.
This wouldn't be a billboard.
Yeah, this is going to go through a lot of departments.
It's going to be like the Hollywood sign.
By the
but
time I'm like a
it's-
full-fledged retired senior, I'll be able to look at that sign at some point. Riding the metro. All right. So,
Just as a point of comparison, Lisa, have you seen that thing when you drive south on the 170, or I guess either direction on 170, that they put up in NoHo? It's like right next to the 170. Does anyone know
really?
what I'm talking about?
No.
Is it
The new
on the where the Macy's used to be? No.
Where NoHo West, the NoHo West sign?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Mhm.
And really,
Yeah.
really big and illuminated. And if you
Yeah.
especially see it if you're driving south on the 170, and it's massive, but it's not exactly, angled in such a direction that it's clearly for drivers, but it obviously is.
Is that
Interesting.
on
Oh, I'll go
building,
take a
Jesse?
drive.
Yeah, I think do you know what it's on, Dean? Like it's the new development right near the metro terminus in,
Is it Magnolia?
Yeah,
No.
I know,
Magnolia? Between Magnolia and Victory? It's Victory and
yeah,
Wall Canyon.
yeah. It's very visible from the freeway.
yeah,
Oh,
right around.
Oxnard. Is it between Oxnard and
A
Victory?
little north
Are we talking
or
about where
south of that. It's right there at Oxnard and Laurel.
Oh,
At the freeway off-ramp entrance? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's
They
visible
tried to
from-
make all 10 of those signs electronic, though, and the community to the north, the single-family home neighborhood, was able to only make it be the one, and it doesn't, face directly to the freeway. So it could have been 10 times worse.
Mhm.
So Lisa, it could be interesting inspiration / cautionary tale. You can see what you think when you drive by.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely take a drive on the 170, right? You said? Yeah, okay. I'll go take a look. So yeah, download the 311, please use it, graffiti, bus stops, trash, anything and everything. Let's keep this neighborhood and community super amazing. Anything else from anyone else? We will have several motions to attach to applications for next month, definitely. But I so appreciate all of your time and input tonight. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. So with that, I will say good night. Thank you so
good
much.
night. Good night.
See you
Good
all
night,
in
everybody.
March.
Bye.
Send me emails if you need to.
Yeah, okay,
Bye.
see you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Dean the bid.
You move to adjourn, Lisa?
Yes, I moved to adjourn. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
All in favor.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you so much, you guys.